reggae compa, time for fiesta. Everybody's moving salsa, reggae compa, time for fiesta. Everybody's moving salsa, reggae compa, time for fiesta. Everybody's moving salsa, reggae compa, time for fiesta. Time to dim the lights and clear the floor, make room for dancing. Time to set the pace, turn up the music, strobe lights flashing. If you like someone and you don't know what to do, just send a friend right over to say somebody wants to dance with you. If they say yes, then dance. At least you took a chance. This could be new romance, and the music is what did it. Can't get tired now. The volume's higher now, 'cause you're on fire now, and the music is what lit it. Let's go.
Everybody's moving salsa, reggae compa, time for fiesta. 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 And no excuse for leaving early, 'cause the workday starts at dawn. Take some time, enjoy yourself, 'cause you ain't doing nothing wrong. If you like someone and you don't know what to do, just send a friend right over to say somebody wants to dance with you. Take the opportunity to set your body free and let the music be. You got it for a minute, inhibition's gone, 'cause it's been way too long since you have heard a song that you lose yourself up in it. Let's go.
Yo, this is Mr. Johnson. Beats by Black Creek. And we bringing you this joint right here. SMD. Sex, money, and drugs. Something that's killing the youth. No cash, too. So we just exposing it. You know what I'm saying? Bringing it to life. Y'all can see what I'm going back.
It be them women wicked as venom, sinning without no truth in them, grinning, thinking they winning. Brothers just knocking boots, hit them prancing, lap dancing. Every brother's handsome, long as he got $1 bill stuck in his hand. Some still got a G-string, exposing her whole ass. And just for some cold cash, she give up that whole fast. Exposing her whole body to be ravished. Your lust becomes a habit, having sex on the Sabbath. Women walk down the block and they switch, resembling hoes. Get mad if you callin' a bitch. That's how it goes. Bros, pay them no mind if they shine. Oh, yo, Jimmy's, 'cause a dime ain't nothing but 10 pennies.
Sex, money, and drugs feed ya. American dream returns the kings and queens and the demons and fiends. Got to keep us from head in this world of schemes. And if you look like cream, it ain't always what it seems.
And your money, sometimes it worries me. Call it state of emergency. Yo, people, it's an urgency. Wake up and smell the currency. Your legal tender carries a demonic agenda. If you surrender, straight to Satan's where it'll send you. It holds you captive. Electronic money is active. Platinum credit. If you get it, it look attractive. But greed to get you. It sneaks up on you, then it hits you. You can't take it with you. When you perish, people forget you. It's the root of evil and the way it controlling people. So if you feeble, it's like needles in your cerebral. White collar gangsters, them world banksters ain't nothing but pranksters. Literally trying to change, just keep your composure. Don't let the grip of Satan hold you, steadily mold you. So yo, remember what I told you about.
Sex, money, and drugs, the American dream. It turns the kings and queens and the demons and fiends. Got to keep us from head in this world of schemes. And if you look like cream, it ain't always what it seems. Sex, money, and drugs, the American dream. It turns the kings and queens and the demons and fiends. Got to keep us from head in this world of schemes. And if you look like cream, it ain't always what it seems. Sex, money, Illuminati feed poppy seeds all up in our section. Brothers love the sweet, but it breeds misdirection. They puffin' on crack, getting high like a skyscraper, stuck on the trap like a fly. Caught on fly paper, vapor, rubber mind, pushing dimes where we dwellin', while some succumb, living dumb, doing all the selling. They brain dead with no vision, no who controlling coca. That's like playing poker, and your man is holding jokers
life's a roller coaster. Up and down, puffing hours while we chasing clouds, chasing foul demons. Reaper made you wild, blazing proud. No one's subliminal, it's ugly, only criminals and thugs. We from generals to jungle.
Sex, money, and drugs. The American dream turns them kings and queens into demons and fiends. Got to keep a strong head in this world of schemes. 'Cause if it look like cream, it ain't always what it seems.
Welcome. Welcome everyone in the chat room, of course, and all of those of you who are listening later on and who are listening right now. And however you get here, it might be from a texted transcript of the actual segment. I still welcome you all the same. My name is Chief Yuya. As you know, we haven't had some segments in a little while, so, thank you all for hanging in there and being patient. Sometimes you have to go into the deeper part of the forest in order to have the conversation with the energies or energy that no one is to know of, or whose name is not to be spoken. Sometimes you have to just keep walking and walking and walking until something makes sense. And then you come back to the village. So, solstice is tomorrow. At least the recognized solstice is tomorrow, where we will be looking at some visible activity in terms of the sun and what it needs to do and what it's gonna do and what it's always done. And I'm gonna give you some information first, and then I'm gonna give you some more information second. All right. The first information is this: I planned on earlier this year. My goal was to end the daily segments, the community segments, this strong. I was going to do them up into the solstice, and this Friday segment was going to be the last one, and I would only just be doing the Chief Speaks going forward. So in time and reflection and committing some energy to untangling some knots that I had looped around me. Sometimes you don't realize you're moving around so much that you're creating your own knots. I made the determination that this will be the last community show that I will do at least. As you all know, the initial goal was I was filling in for Sister Kim and doing these segments, and she was going to finish focusing on some of the still undone classes on Sedula House. So, as you know, this was a temporary thing, all right? And, yeah. Now it's time for something else to happen, okay? So, I'm just saying the difference being I was going to go to Friday, but I'm going to go to today, the day before the solstice. All right. Now, that's that. Now, I know there'll be postings later. What happened to community? Where's Chief at? Where's community? And hopefully people will reference back to this moment, or you will all share with them what I said. All right. So I'm not going to be doing the community shows daily anymore. I'm not doing that anymore daily. All right. There will be Chief Speaks on Sundays, and there will not be community Monday through Friday. And in truth, 95% of you don't need community Monday through Friday anymore anyway. Because yesterday I took some time to actually tally up and count the segments that had been done from when I first took over and started to, fill in for Kim. And I realized that from me doing them consistently to the last segment, which was the color magic segment, there's actually 100 segments there exactly. Yeah, I came in on a couple ones prior to that, but from me actually saying, okay, I'm going to do them from here, Kim, I got you. I'm a fill in for you till the last show. It was 100. And, many of them, I averaged them out to about maybe 2 hours, but many of them are over 3 hours, but 2.5 seems to be the average, but I'm just going to bring it down to 2 because some are an hour and 45 minutes. So theoretically, you have over 200 hours of information there. Well over 200 hours, but we'll just say 200 hours of information there. So if you were to only listen and not apply or test or perform any activities, you have over 9 days of listening material already without the included Chief Speaks. I didn't include those. You're good. All right, so that's that with that. I'm going to hit one thing today, one important thing, and I want you all to apply it. I want you to think about it, and I want you to apply it. And let me also say, those of you who reached out and checked on me and make sure I didn't, drop into the sea, thank you. I do appreciate it. I was not able to respond, but I will respond now. Thank you for reaching out. I do appreciate it very much. I really, really do, believe it or not. All right. So the sun, right? One simple thing. Sun moves in the helix shape, okay? And our whole solar system moves in the helix shape, basically like trailing the sun almost to a degree. The sun leads, then the planets move along with it, and they move around one another in this helix formation, which ultimately encircles and revolves around the Milky Way galaxy. So much is moving, at the same time. So much is evolving. So much is pushing forward and striving forward at the same time. It's not just that the Earth is spinning around in a big circle. It's not that the sun rises and falls, and we have a sunrise and then we have a sunset. It's not just that. There's a spiraling that's occurring, and really more, again, like I said, in the shape of a helix. Our entire heliocentric solar system. So I wanted to speak about that momentarily because as it pertains to the solstice, I wanted you all to understand that when we're celebrating and we're enjoying these divine events, that much of our understanding of the cosmos, of one another, of just how energy and matter moves came from our observations of time and space and things that transgress and move through time and space. So when we think about the glorious obedience of the sun, and I know you've heard me say so many times, it's such a beautiful model of obedience because I know since I've been very young, I have not seen the sun do what it was not intended to. And I know that's a very short time, but even in my studies, the chronology of people, of anthropology, it seems as the sun has always done what it was supposed to do. Such an obedient entity, so convicted and so rooted in its purpose. And I've always used the sun as inspiration, for steadfastness, for maintaining your word, for commitment, for integrity. Looking at that sun vibration because it's so obedient. It's such a beautiful thing. So if we think about the spherical movement of our entire solar system, and how the sun leads that charge forward. It leads the charge of that helical or that spherical movement, in a sense, and the planets follow it in kind. It gives us some reason as to how and why our ancestors viewed time and space in the way they did. And when we use terms even like timeline, we miss maybe a large portion of the substance and the information that we could actually gather about events and occurrences and phenomenon in our life experience that centers and projects around our life experience. Why we lose so much, not understanding that our ancestors saw things as a helix. Time was a helix, space moved as a helix. So there was not this idea of something beginning and ending, but more so there being cycles of movement, forming that shape of what we call the infinity symbol. You see? So I thought about it a little bit some time ago, and I said, that's an important piece to speak on. The idea there that when we speak about infinity, or we speak about the natural rhythm or the natural swinging from one energy pole to another, and how we're able to move back and forth ceaselessly, sometimes we don't add it into our conception of time. We don't add it into our conception of space. We don't add it into our conception of our extremes and what we aspire for and what we decide to divest ourselves from, because there's a quality of energy that we can foster in each swing, in each movement. And sometimes we don't realize that, that there's nothing wrong with going back to something that you had or did before. Because ultimately, you're always going to kind of go back in a way anyway. Nothing truly gets left, but it gets refined and it gets reshaped, and your perceptual awareness of it changes, but you really don't leave anything, because we are living inside of a closed loop system. You see, so when you're looking at the movement of the sun, and you're looking at the solstice movement, essentially, again, what you're looking at is a rebirthing or a reinventing towards a direction that's already been taken already. There's no new directions being taken per se, or no new patterns, which is maybe a better way to say it. There's no new patterns being taken. It's the same patterns, you see. So sometimes we find ourselves in life, walking away from things that really mean something to us, and not realizing that we can come back to them. We may have hobbies, we may have loves, we may have special interest. It could be something as, maybe you like to sit on park benches and look at the water, and you forsook that because you got distracted by something, or you like to dance, or you like to listen to certain kinds of music, and you felt that you shouldn't anymore because the timeline of life is moving forward. So that's not in style anymore. I have to leave those things in the past behind me, not understanding that there's a cyclical loop when it comes to the past, present, and future. Tomorrow's not promised, so you really don't know what the future's about anyway. All you can really do is work with the present, defining what the future may or may not be. So oftentimes we find ourselves in these really sad situations when we do things in life, or things are done to us, and we can't look and say, this can be redeemed. We don't see the opportunities and the positioning for redemption. And I'm talking about personal redemption. I'm not speaking about the feeling that we get sometimes when someone has wronged us and we're still waiting for an apology. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about the idea that what goes around is going to come around. There's going to be another solstice. There's going to be another equinox. We're gonna tip that top of that line of Cancer, that Tropic of Cancer. We're going to tip that Tropic of Capricorn. We're going to hit those points again. How do we choose to hit them? How do we choose to approach them? You see, now, I know I am not, and some of it will come. I know Many of you are probably wanting the metaphysics. Give us the metaphysics, give us the hermetic stuff, and give us the Orisha stuff. And like I say often, all of this stuff is, you just have to kind of learn how to listen to it, you know. But the idea of moving through your solstice with an accumulated body and compendium of synchronized information that becomes, you know, your divine coincidences is your metaphysics. You've been here before. You've been at the Tropic of Cancer before. You've seen Kepler before. You've seen the radio curve, the light curve that we experience. You have seen this before. You've been in this place before. You see. But you didn't have what you have today. You didn't have 100 community segments, 200 and something hours of gyms. You didn't have that in your pocket. Now you have it in your pocket. So as you approach this time, as you approach this divine event, and you maintain the velocity and the frequency that you've had while you were learning, you approach it from a different angle. You tap into a different kind of opening in that curve. The solstice becomes something different for you, you see. So when we think about the idea of the lemniscus, which is also the earlier form of the infinity symbol. We call it the infinity symbol, but it's the lemniscate. The feminine form would be lemniscus, you know. But when we think about that, when we tap into that idea, you know, of the loop for a second, and how right now we're looping. We're moving in a very fast loop. We're moving in a very fast helical shape, moving throughout the galaxy, circling the Milky Way galaxy. Hopefully we can take some of that and begin to reconceptualize what time is for us. You know, before we started looking at things in a linear fashion, try to take your mind back, whether it be through meditation, whether it be through deep thought, or whether it just be through a blissful moment. Try to take your mind back to a time when we weren't dealing with linear ideas and conceptuation at all, but we were looking at things, you know, in its series of cycles and events as they are, and counting those cycles and events. So we would look at the movement of the sun, you know, and which we call the analemma, which is that helix shape or the infinity shape that it makes. We looked at that loop and said, okay, well, very similar to a merry-go-round, I'm going to come back to this place again, and I'm going to begin to count my things in this cyclical fashion, because it's a loop, as opposed to it begins here and it ends here. I represent myself as the eternal. I represent myself as the never ending, you see, and I can see the value of that in the cyclical aspect of the sun, which is only mirroring what the planet is doing, because the sun is taking the charge. It leads the charge as it moves through the galaxy, as the whole solar system moves to the galaxy. We're in a giant ship right now. You see, we're in a giant ship, circling a more profound and amazing base that's also circling itself. You know, if you have a moment, you know, you can look at this different software you can get, but certainly you can go on NASA's site and look at the movement of Sirius A and Sirius B and the interplay that they have with each other. They make the same spherical loop with each other. You start to see that that's a value that needs to be taken on, an idea, a thought that needs to be taken on in terms of the closed loop, coming back to things. You know, I've spoken to you for some time now about the birthing of the spirit versus the birthing of the body. One dies so the other can be born, and then as the other one is born, the other one starts, it comes new again, and then that dies, and then they're constantly taking turns. Spirit time, body time, spirit time, body time, spirit time. None, neither more less divine than the other, but learning the interplay between nothing and something, between matter and immaterialness. You see, so it's that same again helix that we're dealing with now. Coincidentally, by divine coincidence, today is June 20th. You play with the numerology there, you get the number 8. 8 is another representative of the lemniscus, or again of the infinity symbol, representing that idea or that concept of completion. You see, the number 8. Why is it completion? Well, because we're moving through our steps in life, and we're coming on the other side with a higher vibration. That's why when we look at the number 8 and we look at that in its Latin, it becomes oct or octa or octave. You know, so you have the term octave, just like you have octagon or Octavius. You see, you have this idea of the 8, but when you look at, for instance, in musical steps, you take 7 steps and then you start again at the same note, but 1 octave higher. So the frequency has gone up a step. You see, that's an octave. So is it the same note? Yes, it's the same note, but it's in a different place. So representing that, now we're a different thing now. We may face the same thing. You may still have the same annoying neighbors. You may still have the same annoying job. You may still have the same raggedy car. You may still, be financially challenged in some ways or have some challenges with your health, but you're better equipped to deal with it now. What once stomped you under its foot, you're now flying over its head, but you have to own that. You have to take that inventory to say, well, there's a lower part of the 8 and there's a higher part. There's something that's birthed from the bulb of that 8 or from the bulb of that 0, making it that 8. Even if you look at the days of the strong, you have 7 days and then you start over again. So it's representing breaking out of that seven layer trap, that 7 layer ensnarement to going into the freedom of the 8. And again, sometimes we miss these ideas, though they may be right in front of us. We miss them because we've kind of lost our touch and lost our tune with the natural wave of things. Go to the water and look at waves. Every 7 waves, look what happens on the 8th one. It's always bigger. There's a divine interplay here, you see. So as you're approaching this solstice tomorrow, you're bigger and you're better. There's a synchronicity here. Not only, and I'm just, the numerology for today, it is what it is. I'm not making a big deal out of that. I'm saying that's a divine coincidence. It may mean something to you, it may not. I don't really care. It's not really about that. It's about what I'm telling you right now. And that bulbous shape, that bottom. If you even look at the path of the sun, you want to learn more about this, you could probably do a search for path of the sun, to learn a bit more about that, or the radial curve of the sun, or the analemma, which is the positioning of the sun. You see, if you want to learn more about that, and you'll see that the bottom part, when the sun moves through its different plots throughout the year, when it makes that helical shape, it crosses itself, but the bottom part is always larger than the top part, so it almost looks like a body. There's so much that's been stored up through the journey in the body, so when it graduates now into the head, it has so much it can come with now. It has so much it can bring that sometimes it doesn't even realize. Sometimes it forgets. Sometimes we don't do the recaps on our life. And we just keep getting driven forward by foolishness. Sometimes it's our own foolishness. Sometimes it's the foolishness of the communities that we identify with. It's sad. It's sad. I got into this, man, because I was tired of seeing my people being bullied. You know, it's like what Baba Fela said about South Africa in relationship to Nigeria, when he said, yes, what is going on in South Africa is horrible. It's apartheid. You have the whites oppressing the blacks, but what you have in Nigeria is the blacks oppressing the blacks. It's even worse. Sometimes through our identification with certain ideas and certain movements and organizations, we lose our ability, our positioning of recapping. Okay, before I make this turnaround again, before I shift my poles, what have we learned thus far? What has been the highest description of where I've hit and what is the lowest? Where have I been most effective? Where have I been least effective? We're talking about movement here, and I mean, I could make it metaphysical for you if you like, if you want to play around with the number 8 for a little while. We could look at I Ching, 8 primary diagrams, 8 times 8 is 64 diagrams. We could look at the chessboard, 64 spaces. I mean, we could get slick with it if we want for a second, but sometimes, as I'm sure you've probably noticed, I'll keep things from being too slick. I'll try to keep things basic for a reason, because I'm trying to bring you back to the glory of your own cycle and your own helix. Trying to bring some of this stuff back down to the planet for you, instead of having it all up there in the sky where you can't even use it. We can do that. And then you can leave and say Chief is deep. But that doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. I know a lot of deep people that nobody else knows and will never know. It's temporary, only lasts for a little while. My Baba Gil Scott Heron, that's what he used to always tell me. When I would try to marvel, I'd sit in his room with him and we'd be talking, eating sweet potato pies, because that's all he liked to eat. And I'd be marveling at all his adventures with Bob Marley and all of his adventures with Stevie Wonder, because I was his man. He used to take Stevie Wonder to boxing fights. Stevie Wonder loves boxing, and he'd laugh at him the whole fight, so you can't see what the heck is going on. But that was his man. They were close like that. And I'd say, wow, Baba, I wish one day I get to do some things. He said, man, it's all temporary, young blood. It's all temporary. It's not about being so haughty and so high up. And my Baba had a brain that could crush mine. He used to toy at me like a seal toying with its food. Y'all think I'm deep. He used to make me look like a trained monkey when we get into conversations. And he loved doing it, just playing with me. Sometimes you got to bring it to a place where it makes sense, man. And I've just tuned into some frequencies, man. That 8 hertz frequency is an important frequency to learn how to tune into. That's the frequency of the movements of the earth. When the earth has its spikes, it's in that 8 frequency range. So when you're tuning into the spikes of the earth, you're tuning into every time the earth has a thought, really. You could look at it like that. Or has a perk, or, a slip in its own consciousness, similar to the solar flares. 8 is key, man. 8 is an important number, but, it represents that the energy of vibration, being able to tune in, know what's going on, to tune in. And there's so much that we're losing because we don't tune into our own movement. We're not tuning into our own vibration before we're jumping into what somebody else is doing or what somebody else is talking about. Sometimes I don't like talking that much because of that. I know what happens when I talk. I know the effects that it has on people. I'm not stupid. I'm not blind to myself. I know. It's been like that since I was a little boy. And people, well, Chief, what should we do next? And no. Critical thinking. Objective thought. You do it. You tune into the frequency, because that's the only way we're going to rise up. We have these collectives full of all these genius people, but we can't seem to put one thing together. Can't seem to put one thing together. You got one person over here scamming people for fake legal paperwork. You got another person over here scamming people for an imaginary school that'll never be built. You got another person over here telling people that it's a revolutionary act to rape black women. You know, you got another person over here who posts videos all day, of the worst degenerate kind of their people fighting in the streets, and then use it as a blanket statement to describe all the women in their community. You know, we have all kind of just crazy foolishness going on because people are scared to tune into that earth vibration where we'll start making sense again. That earth vibration where you'll start to make sense again. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. I'm seeing droves and droves of people being let off a cliff. Willingly. They're being let off a cliff. We have to humble up, man. Sometimes that means, getting back to some of the primary basics, man, and looking at the loops that you have in your life, looking at that helix, looking how it's moving before you want to start having deep and complex talks about DNA and DNA reproduction and DNA code, which is great. I mean, these are wonderful conversations to have, but sometimes, just go outside and in your yard and sit under the sun and literally make a helix shape. Low, you're in a walker, probably in a hospital or something, somewhere in the house. You could do the same exact thing. If you're on crutches, you could do the same exact thing. See what it feels like to make a helix shape. Why do you think Hindis do it so much with their head? You think they're saying, okay, boss, every time they do that snake thing with their head? And you say, oh, these Hindis, these Indian people, they're Southeast Asians are always doing the bobblehead thing. No, they're tracing the movement of the sun. They're using their first eye to trace the exact same movements that the universe is tracing with their first eye. Sometimes you got to get back down to basics, so you'll miss the simple things that are right in front of you. And I know it's not always the most fun things, that you want to hear. You want to hear Chief go in, Chief, go in, Chief. I'm not a trained monkey here for your enjoyment. And this is really not entertainment. Your life is at stake here. If you can't see that, man, come on. They kill y'all like it ain't nothing, man. No conviction. It ain't nothing to them. They take your homes like it ain't nothing. Chase you down every month. You better hurry up, make that payment. Are we going to come take it? We're going to come take it. And you just waiting and wondering what's going to happen next. Just waiting and wondering what's going to happen next. You better tune into the cycles, man. If you tune into the cycles, you find something very interesting. You don't have to watch CNN as often as you might think you do if you tune into the cycles, because you start to become aware of the cycles of nature, the cycle of the heavens, how things rise and fall, how kingdoms rise and fall, how times rise and fall, when it's best time for you to strike and when it's the best time for you to lay low and pull back. You start to become more sensitive to that because you're aware of your own helix and how your helix is moving. You become aware of your own sacred glyph. And what is another name for a glyph? Character. You become aware of your character when you become aware of your personal infinity. It balances you. It balances you out. That's why we have all of this imbalanced teaching throughout. I'm not even say the community because I don't identify with any of these fools. And just because people have tan skin doesn't mean that I think I'm somehow ethnically related to them. Just because they got tan skin and nappy hair doesn't mean we're ethnically related. I don't know where some of these people gestated. I don't know if they were grown in laboratories. I don't know if this is like the boys of Brazil when I look at some of these people. I don't know if they're clones. Because when you're in tune to a proper vibration, you see, and something comes in front of you, you're always going to know when it's just not right, when it's just not natural, because of the way that you're in tune. Just like when you're in tune and you move out into the world, you know, and you're conscious and you know what you're doing, and you're educated and you're moving with that intelligence, which is really what your consciousness is. You're applying and moving with it. You have now declared war. That is a declaration of war. Because people who are not tuned into that frequency, they know something's wrong when you come into the room. If everyone's comfortable around you, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. If you come into a room and you feel drained and everyone's getting a different sense of vitality and inclusiveness and definitiveness and openness and just excitement about the possibilities in their life, and you ain't getting none of that, you're imbalanced. You're imbalanced. You're all open faucet and no closed faucet. You're not sensitive to the helix in your life, to the movement in your life, man. We all have the movement, man. And you know, mathematically, you could look at it. You could look at it on tarot. It's not the symbol for Jesus. You know, that symbol that it makes. Of course, you see it in the tree of life. You know, you see that same symbol there in the sacred geometry. Though people will tell you that the symbol did not appear, you know, until some 100 years back, that's false, because I personally know for a fact I've been in tombs, shrines in Nigeria, which are thousands of years old, and I've seen that exact symbol, because that's the symbol for Ashe. And now, whenever you see that, sometimes you'll see it on Yoruba art. What they're denoting there is Ashe. That's how Ashe looks. You see. You got to learn to tune into your cycles, man. You know, we're losing a lot. We're losing a lot of our energy. We're losing a lot of our matter. And we've lost our value of perpetual motion. We've lost our value of perpetual interaction with the cosmos and the feeling of what really Latin will translate infinitus as, which is unboundedness. Being completely unbounded in what we're doing, what we want to do, you know? Too many of you are bounded to land masses and states, you know, these false state lines. They take out a marker and cut up a place and say this is this and that's that. That's Oklahoma, that's Nevada, and that's this, that. And you're tied into it. You're not unbounded. You're a slave to that. Because you haven't recognized the cycle, the helix. Once you realize the helix cycle, you realize that I'm unbounded because I'm infinite. So what do I infinitely want to do? Where do I infinitely want to be? Am I going to have myself and my line infinitely defined for me? Or will I be that omega that I ought be? Will I be the alpha that I ought be? I know it may put many of you in a precarious position to have to think of things like that, and to have to think about looping back into a defined point of what it is that you choose to be, you know, coming into that place as we speak about of positive infinity. I know that may be very difficult to think about, you know, when you think about the void or you think about the infinite, we usually think about something going out and away from us forever. Very, very often, we should try to think about something going into a defined point at a deeper level, going deeper and deeper into that black dot. You see, that's what infinity is. If you want to learn the basic mathematical understandings of infinity, Infinity moves you beyond supposition. It moves you beyond. It's really infinity. Infinity is for hypothesis. We know it's this amount. It goes beyond this amount until we learn what the actual amount it is. We'll call it infinity. And then when we have the defining number of what that thing is, then we have another layer. So now infinity represents something else. So infinity is not going outward away from you. Boundlessness is going deeper inside of you. That's what infinity represents. How deep can you go? How deep do you want this thing to get? You see? So when you listen to some of these fools on social media or however you are cursed to come across them, and they are speaking some of the most vile foolishness, sometimes we accept it because it's so far out from where we're at. We think that that is boundlessness, that that's the infinity. Because they take us further out from our actual natural cycle. They take us further out from the life-sustaining principles and ideas that define and symbolize the greatness of ourselves. You see? You are that dragon that devours its own tail so that it can be reborn again. You eat through your own self in order to be reborn again. How flexible are you? And the deeper you go within yourself to devour yourself, the more you become process. The more you become consciousness of what is infinite and internal, and the true nature of your thought process. Where are these thoughts coming from? You don't find that out by going out and listening to some fool telling you that rape is a revolutionary act, or you do a hand sign like this and lift your belt buckle like that when you go into court, and people will let you walk back out the court, and stupidness like that. Or that one specific compliment of your people is deified and you are just put here to serve them. That's not where you get it. You get it by being willing to devour as much of yourself as you possibly can and set new point destinations within yourself. What's a new point I want to travel to within myself? You see, to create new concentric lines of definitions around me. You're creating rings, like when a tree grows and it has rings, and we determine its age by its ring. You have to keep striving towards that inner point. You have to keep striving towards that infinite point, which we like to call now. And I know some of you probably want to hear some more candle magic and spells and things. This is your magic. This is your magic. And for those who have ears to hear, excellent. For those who don't, may Ra save you. That's all I could really say, man. You've gotten so much at this point, man. And you are able to take on your titanic responsibility that lies before you if you so choose. Many of you are now equipped to do it. Now, if you choose not to do it, then that's, just a reflection of what your character is, good or bad. But that's just what you are saying that you are here to be in this day and time, and that's fine. Nobody's will is stronger than your own personal will. We can't get around that. Whatever it is that you want to do is what you're going to do. Sometimes you got to fold in on yourself like the sun does, man. Because sometimes if you don't, you'll forget. You'll forget what you even started for. You forget what you came here for. You forget why you changed your name and why you cut off so many friends, and why you started eating a certain way, and you took the chemicals out of your hair, and walked out of jobs and lost your families, and estrange yourself from your lovers and things like, you'll forget if you don't fold in on yourself. Sometimes you have to be humble enough to fold in. What am I doing? How far out from 0 point have I traveled? Because infinity lies inside. This isn't Buzz Lightyear, the stars and infinity and beyond. No, it's infinity and within. My internal stuff happens when I fold in, when I eat my own tail, like the mudfish or like the dragon. When I'm willing to devour what's behind me. Caputas draconis, tail of the dragon. You see, when I'm willing and ready to do that, devour that. You got so many people who are just pushing and pushing and pushing further out. They're like, they're like warthogs. They just keep attacking. And they don't know there's a time for recess. There's a time for repose. And your sun even knows that. It stays still on the solstice. While it's still folding in on itself, trying to get new information, being confirmed constantly of its values, of its principles, of its pillars of thought, of what it should hold in reverence, of who gave it its original orders. And it does that within this beautiful formation of this 8 or this limicus, giving us that idea of completion, a beautiful and perfect curvature. We see it in our women, the same curvature, as a reminder where home is. Learn about that 8 frequency, 8 hertz frequency. When I say learn about it, I don't mean now go on Google and start researching 8 hertz frequency. I mean, take your head and put it on the ground. You won't die. You touch dirtier things all day. You touch door handles. Put your hands and feet on the ground. Listen. Turn everything off at night. Stop sleeping with your cell phone in the bed. Put your cell phone in another room. Put it in a copper pot. Listen. Figure out where your inner point is supposed to be. When we focus on our inner points, man, it's much easier for us to get along. You'd be surprised. The further out we go from inner point, the more we live in the world of dualism. The more we live in the world of dualism, the more we're going to live in the world of war and discrepancy and disagreement. The further out from that we go. You don't believe me? Go on YouTube, look at the conscious collectives. All they do is fight and argue. All they do is fight and argue. Well, hey, let me fix that. Because the sisters don't do too much of that. It's the guys acting like some distorted or perverted form of sisters. Sisters just go on, do their little natural hair tips, raw food tips, homeschooling tips. And for the most part, they chill. But what does the sun do in this solar system? It leads the way in that helix. It leads the way in the helix, circling the Milky Way. That's Het Haru's home. Het Haru. Het, house. Haru, light. The house of light. The sun is leading the charge in that initiative. What are these suns doing? Are they folding in on themselves? No, they're not folding in on themselves. Some are foolishly trying to collect as many planets as they can to lead them into their spherical. It's not even a sphere for them. It's a vortex, and their vortex of destruction and death under the guise of ancient marital systems. BS. than lying. If you ain't hit your 0 point and take time to go in there, and as men, that's gonna hurt sometimes, man. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna cry. You're gonna think about the things that you lost. You're gonna think about missed opportunities and people who you grew up with who are famous now, and you could have been famous, you could have been rich, and you didn't, and you went this way, and you should have went that way, and this time wasted, and you had a good woman in your life at one point, but you didn't know what to do with her, so now she's gone, and you've been messing with all these raggedy, hood rat, matriarchal feminists, and now you're upset and all. You're gonna have to go into the 0 point, man, and address some of those things. And then reemerge, man. Swallow your tail. Swallow what's behind you. Use that dead energy that you're dragging around as fuel and fodder to become new again. And I'm not scamming the sisters from any responsibility. I don't think I need to balance it out. Everyone's clear on how my position on that. So this is not a new conversation. So I'm not going to just for political correctness do a balancing act right now. I'm just talking. So that's all I really want to talk about. If you take the things that I've been teaching you and you listen, maybe you might need to re-listen, I don't know. But maybe if you have to re-listen to what I spoke about today, applying the things that I gave to you previously, you're going to see the value of the solstice in a totally different way. It may mean going back to 0 point. That summer solstice, your spirit is born, the body is dying. Well, how's the body dying? Well, you're shaking off the excess, you're eating it, you're burning it away, however you're getting it off of you. And you're going to start with a new body, which means what? A new personality. Don't be embarrassed to have a new personality. When most of you became conscious, you took on a new personality. You took on a new name, and there was some probably embarrassment there, or new books in the house that you had to now explain. The Bible wasn't as prominent anymore. The Quran wasn't as prominent, as other books that were now in the house. You got my lectures playing in the background when people come over and they saying, who the heck is this? It wasn't so bad. You got over it. You got through it. You can do it again. Renewing the personalities, renewing the spirit. We all have our valley experiences, man, where we got to walk through, the forest, man, the deep part of the wilderness, man. I gave you the recommendation on the book, The Forest of 1,000 Demons, for a reason. Okay, I'm going. I'll see all of you Sunday. Peace.